What is up, everybody? Welcome to the NXT Heatwave 2025 post show. It's your girl, Denise. I'm riding solo today. You know, it's just me, but I'm here to talk about what went down. Now, this was a very, very fast show that went by super fast. I'm talking a good, I think the stream was about like 2 hours and 20 minutes or so of pro wrestling that we actually got. So it flew by, which I'm glad because this is the second show of the day that I am watching and covering, because earlier today we had Forbidden Door. So it's funny too, because when it comes to WWE counter programming AEW, there are going to be shows that are going to be going on at the same time or that have that crossover time, because we've been here before where we've seen that happen a whole lot. But this show actually worked out today because Forbidden Door was super early in the day, and we had like about an hour and a half between that show and this show. So I was very glad that we got to not see those two shows overlap with one another, even though they were on the same day, because I clearly also wanted to watch NXT Heatwave, and I'm glad that I did because it was a very easy show to watch. But I want to get right to it, man. The things that really, really stood out to me, some things that I enjoyed, some things that I thought, what are we doing? We need to move on. And then some other things that happened on the show that had me going, WTF is wrong with y'all. But anyways, we're going to kick it off with something that I actually loved. And it was the thing that I loved most about this show. Actually, no, second most. This is the thing I love the second most, but I want to start here. And it is, of course, with Oba Femi and Jordynne Evans, because that was our main event for the NXT Championship. This was a power versus speed type of match. Jordynne Evans, from almost like the very beginning that he was introduced to the NXT audience, he has truly felt like somebody special, because he goes out there and he just wrestles in a way that he does things with his body that you just think to yourself, are you even human, or are you just like a human rubber band of some sort, if that makes any sense at all? But he's just very impressive. He really is bouncy, all of that, right? If you've seen Jordynne, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I know a lot of people, including the crowd, wanted to see Jordynne get this win here, but it didn't really feel like it was the moment just yet. Jordynne is a young kid. He's got so much time to get there. He does not need to be NXT champion right away. I am an Oba Femi fan, but I'm also a Jordynne Evans fan. But I'm an Oba Femi fan, and there are still things that need to be done with Oba Femi that made me think, okay, it's not time yet for Oba. Also, backstage before the actual matchup, there was a confrontation with Ricky Saints and Jordynne Evans, where Ricky Saints basically went up to him and started telling him, like, yes, you're the future. Yes, you got the rub from The Undertaker, and I'm rooting for you and all of that. But hey, I just want you to know, man to man, that if you do win that championship, I am going to be coming after that championship, because the future of that NXT championship is absolute. That was the moment that I thought, you know what? Oba Femi is definitely winning. Like, if you weren't sure, that was the moment that gave it away for me, because usually sometimes when we see things like that happen, it's almost a way for them to try to get you to think that that's the match that you're actually going to see, when instead they're trying to throw you off of the match that you're really going to see. And that's when I kind of realized, all right, you know what? If there was any doubt in my mind, that's probably not where my doubt should be. It's going to be Oba Femi. So that was the moment that kind of gave it away from me. During the match, I did doubt myself at one point, because Oba Femi had gotten so much like offense in on Jordynne. Jordynne really hadn't had like a moment to like spring up and get his shit in on Oba Femi. So I thought for like a split second, maybe I'm wrong on my prediction, and maybe he really is going to win here, because he hasn't really gotten a moment to get in there and get some shine in on Oba. He did very early in the match, and that was kind of fun to kind of see him sort of having throwing Oba Femi around. Like, that was enjoyable. But for the actual finish of this match, like, we saw Oba Femi throw Jordynne Evans into the commentary table, and he threw him like there was no tomorrow. Someone in the chat said they threw him like he was pizza dough. That's how he looked flying in the air, and he made him seem like he did not weigh any sort of weight whatsoever, right? But in the end, Oba Femi finishes him off and pins him and gets the win. And I loved the way that Oba Femi won, because the way that Oba Femi won, I felt so bad for Javon, but Javon is a lot smaller in size in comparison to Oba Femi. So when someone like Oba Femi goes and beats the living life out of a guy that's the size of Javon Evans, it's just gonna look far more sickening. And that's what we saw. So when Oba Femi started to like gear up and really get into that level 10 throttle, that's when we really started to see the ending felt like an ending, is what I'm saying. So I enjoyed the matchup. And afterwards, we had a couple of people here that were a little bit bummed that it wasn't Javon yet, but I had said, you know, a lot of people want to see Oba Femi versus Ricky Saints. Like, people want to see him. Ricky Saints came in to WWE with a lot of buzz. And for the most part, Ricky has spent a lot of time feuding with whom? Ethan Page. He feuded with Ethan Page for a very long time on NXT, and people have been waiting for him to feud with Oba. From the very beginning, people thought Ricky was going to get right into this feud with Oba, and it didn't happen. So now we did close out the show with Ricky confronting Oba, and I was really happy about this for multiple reasons. One, I feel that Oba Femi versus Ricky really feels top tier. This really feels like a main event picture where I truly care about both of these guys in different ways, and I want to see what comes of it. And Ricky, he's somebody that was one of my favorites on AEW. There are like a zillion people in AEW, and I thought that Ricky really found ways to stand out and be different on AEW. I talk about this a lot, but some of the best work that Ricky did in AEW was with guys like MJF, Bryan Danielson, CM Punk. Now, let me ask you something. What do all of those guys have in common? Guys like CM Punk and Bryan Danielson and MJF. They're all really top tier guys. Now, of course, Oba Femi is not near that kind of level because he's in developmental and he hasn't had those career accolades. But what I'm saying is that Ricky Starks is the kind of person that can be put into matches with people that are on the main roster, for example, and that he can match that same energy and sometimes even bring far more energy and match that aura and really feel like he belongs surrounded by people that are of higher magnitude. So to see him and Oba Femi being our NXT champion, it just feels like a much more bigger deal to see Oba and Ricky. So that's why I'm excited. The second reason is I don't think if you did not watch AEW, if you were not an AEW fan, you have not yet seen what Ricky could really do. I don't think that they've shown what Ricky can really do on NXT. I don't think we've really heard the incredible mic work that he has. I don't think we really see him go ham in the ring the way he has in the past. And so that's why I think there's still some, if Ricky Saints and everything he's done is a bunch of presents under the Christmas tree, we've only opened like 1 or 2 boxes, and there are still so many boxes left to open in regards to Ricky Saints. So that's why I was very, very interested in what they did with the closing of the show. But we got Tracy WV here who says, I like them both too. That leg thing was annoying. Hold on, what leg thing? Hold on, I'm blanking on what leg thing we're talking about. Wait, what leg thing are we talking about? Hold on 1 second, Tracy. My mind is kind of going array someplace else. J4 Nene here, J94 Nene here says, at this rate, I won't be shocked if Javon goes heel. So Javon, it's funny because when he feuded with Ethan Page, I remember it was kind of silly because he kind of stuck his nose in Ethan Page's business, and then Ethan Page went and basically handled him, right? And then Javon also kind of he was also chasing after Trick Williams for a bit. Like, he wanted to be his friend. And this was when we were starting to see Trick Williams go from babyface to heel. So he started being like really mean to Javon, and Javon was a babyface. So you're looking at it and you're going like, why is Trick Williams being so mean to Javon? Well, that's because at that time we didn't know that he was already turning into a heel, right? But the point that I'm trying to get at is that Javon Evans tends to kind of stick his nose in people's business and hasn't really learned his lesson. So what if he does turn heel? What if all of this upsetness does turn him? I'm going to say no right now because his pro wrestling style and the way that he talks, and he uses words like locked in and all of the young hip words that the young cool kids do nowadays. That's the way that Javon talks. That's the way that Javon presents himself. And to me, it's hard to be a heel when Javon acts the way that he acts, looks as young as he looks, and wrestles the way that he wrestles. To me, Javon is more of a natural baby face, where I feel like the Javon that we see on TV, that feels like the exact same Javon that you would meet outside when the cameras are not rolling. So that's where I'm at. Thank you so much, J94 Nene. Oh, yes. Thank you, Tracy. Yes, thank you. The leg thing, that you're 100% right. She says at the end with the two refs. So we had a ref bump during the match with Oba and Javon. And at that point, Javon was starting to really get his groove going, and he's attacking Oba. But then the referee gets knocked down. So I was thinking, okay, Javon is probably going to get a visual pin here on Oba Femi, but instead it doesn't happen like that. The referee gets up really fast. Javon goes for the pin. 1, 2, 3. But then they notice that Oba Femi's leg is underneath the rope. So that was the leg thing that Tracy was referring to. Thank you so much, Tracy. All right, so let's go ahead and press on from here. So an overall good ending to Heatwave. Wrong show, guys. I've been talking a whole lot of wrestling today. A good ending to NXT Heatwave. The other thing that I really liked, and this was actually the thing that I liked the most on the show, was Jordynne Grace versus Blake Monroe. So this was a match that was just straightforward wrestling between both of these girls, but I thought they had really good chemistry, and I don't want their feud to end. Even though I haven't liked the "you're ugly and I'm beautiful" storytelling aspect of it, I don't really love that story, but what I do love is just the way that they work together in the ring and the way that it feels when they're in the ring together. That's why I kind of wanted this to continue. And so we'll see if it eventually does. But I really did think that they brought their A game, and Blake Monroe getting a big win over Jordynne Grace. Let's see where this takes her next. She's still very new to NXT, and I think people still have to see what more she can do, right? And I think she can get even meaner. I think she can get even more vicious and all of that. I think we can still see a lot more of that here on NXT as far as they can take it, right? As for Jordynne, we did have a couple of people during the watch along that were kind of like, man, Jordynne's been losing a lot. She hasn't really been presented the way that we thought she would. And that was kind of what I was thinking in regards to Jordynne Grace. She's in this cool, not cool. She's in this good match, in this good match with Mariah, but Blake. She's in this good match with Blake, but the feud, again, wasn't really anything hot. I think where I'm at is that I really thought Jordynne Grace, the second she came into NXT, because of the WWE Royal Rumble appearance and just everything surrounding Jordynne Grace, I actually thought that Jordynne Grace was going to beat NXT Women's Champion pretty damn fast. So the fact that we haven't gotten there, I think that's the part that feels a little mismatched with the way she was presented, the way she was brought in, and then we still haven't necessarily gotten there. It feels a little bit weird in that sense. So that's where we're at with all of that. Now, the other bits that I really enjoyed from Jordynne Grace and or not even Jordynne Grace and Blake Monroe, but we got a lot of other stuff that went down with the women. We had 2 matches. 2 triple threat matches, and I kind of want to talk about these together because we had Lola Vice defeat Jada Parker and Kalani Jordan. Out of the 2 triple threat matches that we saw for the women, this one was the one that I thought was the very best because I thought these 3 girls just kind of like worked the match better to really highlight each of their strengths, because they all have very different strengths. Like Kalani Jordan, she's more on the acrobatic side, more, she's a former gymnast, so she kind of got to show a little bit of that like she usually does. Jada Parker is sort of like this brawler. She brings so much attitude, and you were able to see that. And Lola Vice is a little bit of she is a more just she's very popular right now, but she's very aggressive in the way that when she gets in there, she makes sure that she goes full throttle in the ring. And so we were seeing that. So all of these three combinations of what Jada and Kalani and Lola brought, it really contributed to a really nice matchup. And Lola Vice winning, I wasn't sure if they were going to go with Jada or with Lola. I really wasn't sure there, because both of those girls are kind of ones that a lot of fans have been wanting to see more come out of their time in NXT versus Kalani Jordan. Kalani Jordan could have taken that too. She's a former NXT North American Women's Champion. She did a good job. She's very talented. She's picked up wrestling very fast, but it did feel like it was either Lola or Jada's time. I think what has helped Lola is honestly her work that she's been doing in AAA, I feel has just brought her more eyeballs and more people being like, hey, this Lola girl, like, we want to talk about her. We want to see her, right? Whether it's because of the way she looks, most likely that's part of what gets people to look in her direction. But then they see what she brings in the ring, and then they see, oh, she's actually entertaining and she's not bad. Hey, I'm a real big fan of Lola. And so suddenly Lola's developed like a much bigger fan base. And I feel like that is part of the reason that WWE went with her being the number one contender. So she's now going to go up against Jacy Jayne for that NXT Women's Championship, and I want Lola to win. I think Lola needs to win. I feel like we already got what we could out of the Jacy Jayne NXT and Knockouts championship belts. I want them to break up Fatal Influence. I want Jacy Jayne to feud with Fallon Henley, and I want Fallon Henley to get back to the spot where she belongs. I want to see Fallon Henley up there with girls like Kalani, with Jordan, with Lola, with all of these women that we're talking about. I want to see Fallon in that conversation. And then as for Jacy Jayne, she dropped the title to Ash by Eleagance. So Ash by Eleagance is now the new Knockouts champion. And when I was watching this match, I didn't know if they were going to go with Masha or with Ash. I knew this was obviously going to go back to the TNA side. I don't think they would have booked the match if it wasn't. The way that they booked it, I don't think they would have booked it the way they did if it wasn't going to go over back to the TNA side. They have the TNA president out there. It's a whole thing. So it made a lot of sense that, hey, we're going back to the TNA championship. Like, we didn't need to do the whole keep the belt on Jacy Jayne any longer. They did all that they could do already with that on the Impact side and on the Impact programming. So, but I did think there was I did think, Masha is such a good wrestler. I'm a big fan of her. So part of me was sort of biased in that I wanted Masha to win. But I had a feeling it could also be Ash by Eleagance because of the work that she's been putting in over on the TNA, the TNA side, really branding herself as somebody different than Dana Brooke and putting in the work. And usually you see TNA with the women, they feed into that pretty well. Like if a girl's getting some sort of popularity, they tend to feed into that pretty well, where they go in and they give her a championship or something. So now JC just has the NXT championship, women's championship, but I think she'll drop it to Lola. And as for Ash by Eleagance, she's now the Knockouts champion. So congratulations to Ash by Eleagance, because this is her first, real major world title win. When she was in WWE, she was a former 15-time 24/7 champion. And let's be real, it's the 24/7 championship. Like, yeah, it's fun and all, but it's a 24/7 championship. I think this is where I want to jump into another thing that in regards to the women, because this kind of happened backstage. So we were seeing a confrontation with Fatal Influence, Lola Vice, Saruka, and Zarya, which, by the way, they're going to have a 3-on-3 match next week. But one of the things we learned was, Saruka, she is a speed champion. We knew that already. But they had recently announced that the Speed Championship was no longer going to be happening on NXT. On Twitter. It was no longer going to be happening on Twitter. Instead, now they're bringing the Speed Championship to NXT, and they're even doing like a little tournament. And so Ruka's going to be defending her title at No Mercy. And I'm thinking, no one cares about the Speed Championship. I don't want to see her defend the Speed Championship. I want to see her defend the NXT Women's North American Championship. That's what I want to see. I don't care about the Speed Championship. So I wasn't in love with that. I love the idea of them bringing in a woman from AAA. I love the idea of them bringing in a knockout. I love that aspect of it, but that all should be happening for the North American Championship, not for the Speed Championship. And just for me, I don't take it seriously, and that's why I don't really want it on this show, especially when she already has the belt. If you want to make the Speed Championship a thing on NXT, it should be on somebody else. Maybe somebody like a Carmen Petrovic or someone who's like, on like Jasmine Nix, right? Like someone who's on NXT but isn't yet at that level, but could still be, but is still someone that is featured, that is doing something, but still not at that championship level. Okay, fine. Have the Speed Championship. Go have a blast, right? But so Ruka, she should be defending that North American Championship a lot more. That was one of my criticisms like a couple weeks ago. I forgot on what show. I talked about how I didn't feel like So Ruka was getting to defend the title as much as I thought she would. So that's why now I'm looking at this and I'm going, okay, well, now we're going to be completely distracted with the Speed Championship. So I'm not having the Speed Championship, guys. I'm not having it. All right. Let's see what everyone is saying here on the show, by the way. We got Jacob Tatum. What's up, Jacob? He says, thoughts on the Jada Lash confrontation. So Jada, as we mentioned, did not win the #1 contendership. She looks to be doing this with Lash Legend now. Lash Legend finished up a little feud that she had there with Nia Jax. I didn't watch past week's episode of NXT, so I don't know what changed, if anything changed on that front. But the week before that, she had her match with Nia Jax. And I think Jada and Lash is a good way to keep Jada in there with people that still get people talking. So Lash Legend gets people talking because of her size and the way she looks. People are curious to see what else she can do. Jada's a little bit more experienced, so I think she can bring Lash Legend. I think she can help Lash Legend climb the ladder on NXT. So I feel like this is going to be massive. This feud is going to be massive for Lash Legend. For Jada, it kind of feels like, okay, we're kind of stalling a little bit, but at the same time, we're trusting you to do this story and to continue the storytelling that you've been doing, because she's been consistent. Like Jada has been consistently going from feud to feud to feud, and she's been knocking it out of the park with everybody. At some point, she's got to get her due. But right now, she's kind of still in the place where she's going and she's having feuds and she's having stories, which I love because it helps show more versatility for Jada Parker. So in all, I think it's a win-win for both of them. Thank you, Jacob. We got Frank here in the building. He says, damn, missed your watch along because I had issues with my Peacock. So had to use the nudge, nudge, wink, wink website to watch the PLE. So I couldn't join watch along, but enjoyed the show. Frank, thank you so much for still coming in here and showing some love. You tune into so many of the watch alongs. So it's 100% okay that you couldn't make it to this one. I'm glad you were just able to actually watch the show. And yeah, I don't know what was wrong with your Peacock, but sorry, it sounds funny when I say that. I don't know what was wrong with your Peacock, but no, I did have one moment, and I know a couple of people here on the stream also had a moment where the Peacock was glitching, but at least we were still able to watch the show. It's just one of those days. You know how technology is. Thank you, Frank. We got Bob Ross here who says HBK is going to hell for putting a deaf man in a blindfold match. So yeah, we're getting a blindfold match, everybody. It's going to be Miles Bourne versus Lexis King in a blindfold match. Now, these don't usually go very great, but they are intriguing. It's like a car crash. You see it and it's awful and you can't look away. That is what that is. That's what this is going to be. But yeah, poor freaking God, what was I? Miles Bourne. Yeah. Sorry, I blanked on Miles Bourne's name for a second. Poor Miles Bourne. He's gonna kind of be in a situation where his strengths, you know, when you lose one sense, or you're like, if you're blind, usually your hearing is better. If your hearing is not that great, sometimes it's your eyesight that's a little better, whatever, right? I feel like now you're doing that to him where he can't really hear, and it's just, yeah. Yeah, that's gonna be a challenge for Miles Bourne, but I'm fairly confident he's gonna kick ass in it, and everyone's gonna be like, "Oh shit, like dude's doing it, man. Dude is doing it. He's getting it done." Thank you, Bob. Infamous Raider Loco says, also the women, owie, triple threat fire, and Blake and Jordynne. I needed the tank tonight, but loved it. Chelsea so over and booking great. Lola, hands down. So Chelsea Green, by the way, was really the star of this Ethan Page, Chelsea Green versus Tavion Heights and Tyra May Steele match. It was a mixed tag team match. I did not give a rat's ass about this story. Like, I haven't been feeling it. This is the part of NXT that's a little too goofy for me. But I love Chelsea Green. I'm a fan of Ethan Page. And as for Tavion Heights and Tyra May Steele, I'm just getting to know them. So I don't really feel like that kind of connection just yet. But it was fine. It was enjoyable. But again, it's just not something that I'm going to sit here and like pour my heart out or be really invested in. But the biggest thing that I do have to say was how noticeable it was that Chelsea Green is so freaking loved. And the people were just rooting for her. They just wanted to see her in the ring. Like, they didn't care about anybody else in there. They didn't care about Ethan. They didn't care about Tyra, or they didn't care about Tavion. They cared about Chelsea. They cared about wanting to see Chelsea. And it made her feel like, I'm sure she probably felt good after that night because she's very funny, all of that. But one of the things that I had wanted to say about Chelsea Green during the watch along that I didn't say is that I really love Chelsea and I love the love she's getting. But I feel like you meet a lot of people, right? You meet a lot of people in this business. And I think some people some people are nice, some people are like whatever, some people are kind of reserved or to themselves or whatever, right? I feel that Chelsea is one of the nicest people that I have ever met in this business. I will never forget like running into her at GCW when she was after she had left WWE, and things didn't work out for her and she went back into the indies. And I remember being in the bathroom and she's getting her stuff ready because she's going to go do a match, and I'm getting ready because I'm going to do ring announcing or something. And she always made the time to say hello and to talk to me, and really made me feel like I don't know, like a person. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes some people make you feel less than, or some people feel like, oh, I was in WWE, so I have a much higher personality, right? She's not like that at all. And so that for me made me really like Chelsea a whole lot, was getting to know her in a setting where there was no cameras on us. And it was just, me and her having a regular conversation. And I feel like people like that, when you see how people act when there's no cameras around and that they're not getting something from you, it's just a regular little interaction. It really does feel like, okay, I kind of have more respect for you because you're cool and you're nice and you treat people well. And that's why I'm a big fan of Chelsea Green outside of what she does, on top of what she does in WWE. So that's why I'm always rooting for Chelsea, man. She's a good egg. She's a good egg. So thank you so much, Frank. We got Dion here. Dion, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, in my opinion, Bianca had a similar NXT run as Jordynne with never winning the big one in NXT. Hopefully Jordynne has the same type of main roster run as Bianca. I think if Jordynne, once they let her loose on the main roster, like if they let that baby go, like let that baby go, she is gonna really, really knock people off their seats. And when she was in the Rumble and she was interacting with all of those main roster girls, oh, she looked different. She looked on a different level. She looked like, okay, this is somebody that we got to pay attention to. She looked like a bigger star than some of the other girls that were on the main roster, where you saw them and you're like, oh, wait, like she's on the main roster, but she's not. we got to get her on the main roster. So she did look really good and she looked the part. Thank you, Dion. We got Frank here who says, also, didn't get to say earlier, but hope you had a fantastic vacation. Loved all the pics. You look so happy and enjoying yourself. Roman opening Raw tomorrow. Unfortunately, won't be able to watch live, boo. Yeah, so it's going to be hard, especially because Raw is on at an earlier time. So I know that it's a little different when people aren't able to watch at their normal time slot because people are at work and running errands or doing all of that stuff. So yeah, the shows usually feel a little bit different, but I'm excited to see Roman Reigns open up Monday Night Raw. And thank you, Frank. I had a great time at the vacation. Thank you. We got McTaru here says, so what's next for JC Jane? When is she going to drop the NXT Women's Championship? I'm tired of seeing her as champion. McTaru, I think she's dropping the title to Lola. I hope I'm not wrong on this one. I hope, but I do think she's dropping the title to Lola and maybe possibly going on to feud with either Fallon or Jasmine. I hope it's Fallon, though. I hope it's Fallon. Thank you, McTaru. And let me see what other match I didn't talk about yet. Oh, yay. Yeah, that's right. The last match that I need to talk about for NXT Heatwave. Oh, Lord. I should have probably talked about this match sooner because I don't want to end on a crappy note on this podcast. But what are we doing, guys? Dark State are now the brand new tag team champions. I was watching this match and I was just like, wow, look at all the cool things Hank and Tank are doing. Hank and Tank are so cool. And then they had Dark State win. And it just sucked the air out of the building. I'm sorry. Everyone here knows that I am not a Dark State fan. I just don't see any, I don't see it. I just don't see it right now. Someone said it was like Retribution Light. And I hate to say that I agree, but I kind of agree. I'm just not seeing it right now in Dark State. I hope they change my mind. I hope they have a great NXT Tag Team Championship run. I hope they turn me into a fan. I want to be a fan. Turn me into one. But right now, it ain't it. And I'm really kind of looking at it and going, ooh, I immediately lost interest in this title picture. And I immediately lost interest in what the future of that division looks like for the foreseeable future with Dark State as champions. I think Hank and Tank, baby. Hank and Tank should have kept those straps. I know some people going like, hey, we're going to see Hank and Tank on the main roster. I'd love to see them on the main roster. You got some meaty boys that can do swantons. Please sign these men up. But then if they leave, we really are down to hardly no teams on NXT. So unfortunately, I'm just not a fan of Dark State at all. Alrighty, so that is it for our show today, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. And please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Lots more content. I'll be back here for Monday Night Raw. Thank you guys so much. Bye, everyone.